Welcome back to Football Daily. Today we're running through 10 transfers that transform some of Europe's top clubs. 10. Andrea Pirlo. When Andrea Pirlo signed for Juventus on a free in the summer of 2011, it was rightly seen as a coup for the Italian giants. The deep-lying playmaker, then 32, had been the glue that held together an AC Milan side which had won 2 Champions Leagues in the previous decade, and just helped the club win the Serie A title in new manager Max Allegri's first season at the San Siro, albeit playing a bit part role. With Allegri preferring to play more conventional defensive midfielders like Ambrosini and Van Bommel in the CDM slot, and Pirlo viewed increasingly as an ageing asset on big wages, the player and club parted ways after 10 years. And the move instantly came back to bite the Italian champions. Juve's new manager Antonio Conte built his entire side around Pirlo. The Italian clocked up more minutes than anyone in the Bianconeri squad, including goalkeeper Gianluigi Buffon, finishing the season top of the Serie A assist charts, having racked up 13 from the base of midfield. Juve went the whole season unbeaten, finished 4 points ahead of Milan, and were awarded their first Scudetto since 2003. Meanwhile, Pirlo won the Serie A Footballer of the Year award for the first time and will win it again in each of the next 2 seasons, remaining Conte's most important player in Turin before eventually leaving in 2015. He provided the perfect foil for midfield talents like Arturo Vidal and Paul Pogba to thrive in the Italian top flight, helping Juve kick off the most dominant era in their history, and is now back at the club as their under-23s coach. 9. Bruno Fernandes. Unlike with others on this list, it's probably too early to tell if the signing of Bruno Fernandes will transform Man United in the long run, but it's certainly had a radical impact on the club's fortunes thus far. The Portuguese playmaker first attracted the interest of the Premier League giants in 2019, following a stellar campaign in which he bagged 33 goals in 53 games for Sporting, coupled with 14 assists in the Liga NOS and the Europa League. Bruno was viewed as the ideal candidate for United, especially with the prospect of Paul Pogba leaving, but it would take another window before they secured his signature. Some had doubts as to whether he could translate the productivity he showcased in the Portuguese top flight to the more technically and physically demanding Premier League, but he has been a revelation at Old Trafford. At the time of writing, Bruno has 6 goals and 5 assists in 9 Premier League appearances, contributing to a goal every 73 minutes, which for context is the same as Lewandowski's average in the Bundesliga this season. And having lost 3 of 4 league games they played before his arrival, United are now unbeaten in 14 games since he made his debut. Coupled with the return of Pogba, the Red Devils midfield now looks more dynamic than at any stage in the last 10 years. Bruno may well be the most exciting transfer of the post-Ferguson era and could help the club become a regular fixture in the Champions League once again. If you are new to Football Daily and you're enjoying this video, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, because we've got plenty more like it coming your way. 8. Roy Keane. Arguably the most important signing in Manchester United's modern history has to be Roy Keane. Many see Eric Cantona's switch from Leeds to Manchester in 1992 as the defining move of that decade, helping secure the club's first league title in 26 years and bringing some much needed swagger back to Old Trafford. But Keane's arrival a year later laid the foundation for the club's lasting success. Despite getting relegated with Nottingham Forest, Keane was one of the most coveted young midfielders in Europe, even linked with Real Madrid. United stumped up a record fee for him, hijacking his proposed move to Blackburn in the process, and he instantly became a key player in Alex Ferguson's system, playing 54 games in his first season and helping the club to its first ever league and FA Cup double. His commanding displays in central midfield meant Ferguson lost no sleep over selling Paul Ince in 1995, integrating academy graduates like Paul Scholes, Nicky Butt and David Beckham alongside the Irishman, and nurturing a midfield that would dominate English football for years to come. Technically superb, hard-working and with a never-say-die attitude, Keane epitomised the very best of Ferguson's United, and so it was no wonder he took the captaincy when Cantona retired in '97. By the time he left in 2005, he'd won 7 Premier Leagues, 4 FA Cups and a Champions League. 7. Dennis Bergkamp. Arsene Wenger may have brought Arsenal into the 21st century after being hired in 1996, but the signing of Dennis Bergkamp the previous year was the first step in the club shedding its reputation as boring Arsenal. Prior to his arrival in North London in 1995, the Premier League outfit had become a byword for dull, defensive football under coach George Graham, and having cost £7.5 million, Bergkamp was expected to bring some continental flair to Highbury. And that he did, hitting 11 goals and 7 assists in his first season to help a side which had finished 12th in the previous campaign rise to 5th. And once Wenger came through the door, his productivity exploded. In 1997-98, he led the squad for both goals and assists as they beat Ferguson's Man United to the Premier League crown, and went on to form one of the fiercest strike partnerships ever seen in English football with Thierry Henry following the Frenchman's arrival in '99. Bergkamp's supreme technical ability made him a vital asset even in his final years, contributing to a goal every 126 minutes in the Invincibles campaign, during which he turned 35. The summer he finally called it quits in 2006, Arsenal reached their only Champions League final, and it would only go downhill for the club after his retirement. 6. Frank Lampard. Roman Abramovich's takeover of Chelsea in 2003 is rightly seen as a watershed moment for the club and the Premier League, but despite the Russian billionaire bankrolling an era of unprecedented success for the West London club, they had already made their most important signing 2 years earlier, signing Frank Lampard from West Ham for £11 million in 2001. The English midfielder instantly became an integral member of the Blues squad, then managed by Claudio Ranieri, and even set a new record in English football, appearing in 164 consecutive league games between October 2001 and December 2005. During that time, Abramovich's takeover had happened, but despite the wealth of world-class talent coming into Stamford Bridge, Lampard had only become more important to the side, leading the squad for goals scored and the entire league for assists to help the Blues squad win their first Premier League title in 2004-05. And over the next few years, he would only get better in his role as a box-to-box midfielder / penalty area poacher, hitting 20 plus goals in all competitions for 5 consecutive seasons and eventually becoming the club's all-time top scorer in 2013, breaking a record that stood for nearly half a century. Having won everything there is to win as a player with the Blues, Lampard is now in the dugout, striving to bring about a glorious new era at the Bridge. 5. Manuel Neuer. In 2020, Schalke fans had to relive the trauma of seeing their goalkeeper get poached by Bayern Munich. When it last occurred in 2011, it represented the final piece the Bavarian Giants needed to ensure their dominance of the Bundesliga, which even now doesn't look like letting up. The man Alex Neubel has been brought in to replace in the long term Manuel Neuer is an era-defining keeper, and his €30 million move to the Allianz Arena helped the side evolve stylistically and push further ahead of their Bundesliga rivals. With his ability to play the role of sweeper keeper giving the Bavarians an extra line of defence and the backline an additional passing option. They may have missed out on the title in Neuer's first season to Klopp's Dortmund, but the following campaign swept all before them, losing just once and conceding just 18 as they won the Bundesliga by 25 points, before beating BVB in the Champions League final to secure a historic treble. And when Pep Guardiola arrived as manager that summer, there was no need for any major rebuilding, with Neuer in particular ready-made for the Catalan coach's possession-heavy philosophy. 9 years since his move from Schalke, Neuer has won 8 Bundesligas and recently signed a new 3-year deal, keeping him at the club until he's 37. 4. Virgil Van Dijk. It's easy to forget that only a few years ago Liverpool were a famously poor side defensively. Even when they came close to winning a title in 2013-14, they conceded 50 goals, their highest tally since 1994, and matched it 2 years later in Jurgen Klopp's first season in charge. But the capture of Virgil van Dijk in January 2018 changed everything. While the Reds' backline had been slowly improving before Van Dijk's arrival on Merseyside, the Dutchman provided the catalyst to it becoming one of the very best in the world. Before his first appearance for the Reds, they had conceded 28 goals in 23 Premier League games in 17-18, but after his debut, conceded only 10 in their remaining 15 fixtures, going from an average of 1.2 goals a match conceded to just 0.7. Meanwhile, his calm authority in central defence helped Klopp unlock the attacking potential of the side's fullbacks. The following campaign, Liverpool conceded just 22 goals all season, their best record since 1979, and 12 months later secured a first ever Premier League title after another season of near flawlessness from Van Dijk. 3. Cristiano Ronaldo. We were tempted to go with the hipster's choice of Xabi Alonso, who arrived at Real Madrid the same summer as Ronaldo and was incredibly influential in his 5 years at the Bernabeu. But there's no getting away from the impact the Portuguese forward had in the Spanish capital. Ronaldo made less than 40 appearances and scored less than 40 in just one of his 9 seasons in Madrid, and by the time he left in 2018 had racked up an astonishing 450 goals in 438 games, beating the record previously held at the club by over 100. It seems impossible that anyone could transform Europe's most historically prestigious club, but Ronaldo's goal-scoring prowess was the defining factor in Los Blancos not only achieving La Decima, a feat fans had been anticipating for 12 years, but winning another 3 Champions Leagues in consecutive years. In that first triumph in 2014, CR7 set a new record for goals scored in a single Champions League campaign with 17, hitting the back of the net every 58 minutes. For context, no other player has scored more than 14 in a Champions League or European Cup tournament, with Ronaldo going on to hit 16 in 15-16 and 15 in 17-18. Not since Alfredo Di Stefano has one signing had such a monumental effect on the fortunes of Los Blancos. 2. Ronaldinho. When Ronaldinho signed for Barcelona in 2003, the club had endured a 3-year period which puts the so-called crisis currently taking place at the Nou Camp into some perspective. Following the demoralising sale of Luis Figo to arch-rivals Real Madrid in 2000, the Blaugrana finished outside the top 3 in La Liga for 3 consecutive seasons, the first time they'd done so in over 20 years, even finishing as low as 6th in 2002-2003, with the acquisitions of Juan Roman Riquelme and Gaisca Mendieta failing to bring inspiration to a once great team that had seemingly lost its identity. And whilst results weren't instant, with Frank Rijkaard's side even finding themselves as low as 12th midway through the following season, Ronaldinho had already captured the hearts of the Barcelona fans with his supreme creativity, otherworldly skills and infectious smile. And he soon hit top form, firing Barca up the table to finish the season in 2nd, just 5 points off Valencia. Within the next 2 years, the Blaugrana won consecutive La Liga titles and a first Champions League since '92, aided by further big investments in Deco and Samuel Eto'o and the emergence of a little-known man called Lionel Messi. But Ronaldinho was the figurehead, having brought a sense of adventure back to the Camp Nou almost single-handedly, and making Barca the team everyone loved to watch again. He left under a cloud in 2008, but his influence in revitalising the club's image cannot be overstated. Number 1. Juninho. Cast yourself back to 2001. Olympique Lyon had just finished 2nd in Ligue 1, but had yet to win their first title in history. In fact, the Coupe de la Ligue they won that year was the first piece of silverware in nearly 30 years. That summer they signed a little-known midfielder named Juninho from Vasco da Gama on a free, and suddenly their fortunes changed. The skillful playmaker gave them the edge the following campaign, providing expertly for strikers Sonny Anderson and Sidney Govou as they won their first ever title by 2 points. And it didn't stop there. Lyon would go on to win the next 6 Ligue 1 crowns uninterrupted, setting a record for consecutive titles that not even PSG could beat in the 2010s. With Juninho the side's key player throughout. He became the most notorious player in the French top flight, an elite creator and a frightening dead ball specialist. In fact, an article in 2019 claimed the Brazilian had scored more free kicks, 77, than anyone in the history of professional football, while his unorthodox technique would later go on to inspire Cristiano Ronaldo. Lyon would nurture other great talents during this time, namely Michael Essien, Eric Abidal and Karim Benzema, but none could match Juninho's influence at the Stade de Gerland. Since he left in 2009, they've won just 1 piece of silverware. So that was our list of 10 transfers that transformed your club. Let us know what you thought in the comments below, and have we missed anyone out? Hit the like button, hit subscribe. Thanks very much for watching. We'll catch you later.